1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hi, this is Sean, and in this lesson we're going to look at chord movements on minor sevenths using the tune Alice in Wonderland. There are some really pretty tension release movements in that tune. If you'd like to get more movement in your playing or get your playing prepared to have the freedom to do that, then consider joining us on Jazz Skills. Meanwhile, please do leave us a like, a subscribe, hit the notification bell, and a positive comment if you have one. It's really helping us to grow and do more of this for you on YouTube. Without further ado, let's get into the lesson. We're going to play some movements on some of these minor sevenths. This is actually quite a good tune for movement, especially on the minor sevenths. Well, it's this for people who maybe haven't heard it before. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Something like that. Something like that. So there are lots of notes that fall outside the chords. For example, let's mark some of them. Well, G isn't in D minor 7. I'm just looking at notes that fall with the chords. I mean, you could say that G is the 9 of F major, but let's leave that there. E obviously is in E7. E is in A minor. G is in E flat 7. That one is in D minor, but this is interesting for movement. This is not in G7. E is in E minor. You got the G again on D minor, the E again on G7. So a few, they're quite useful for movement. The other thing that's very useful for movement is when we get these straight lines, what I call straight lines or single steps like that on one chord. There's another one on the D minor 7. These are single steps. Di-da, di-dum. Those are single steps. All these things are quite useful for movement, as we shall see. Okay, let's see what we're going to do. We're just going to work on minor 7th chords, although there are many other places we can move. I find it best to isolate a few skills. We'll take this one, maybe this one. Let's just mark our minor 7s. We've got nice single steps on that one. That's another minor 7. I should be marking the chord, not the melody. Something like that. And then I lost all my drawings. Great. I think you got the idea. So when we have minor 7th chords, what we do is we take a major 6 and use movements from the major 6. Why? Because every minor 7th is a major 6. If we invert D minor 7th up, we get an F6. F6 inverted down is D minor 7th. That is the connection we make to make movements on minor 7th chords. And to move a F major 6 or a D minor 7, we take F6 and G diminished. Okay, so the diminished is always on that second degree of the scale. And then an F6 inversion, G diminished inversion, F6 inversion, G diminished inversion, F6 inversion, G diminished inversion, etc. So an easy way to learn that, if you're not sure how to begin, is just take your F6 inversions like that. Then take your G diminished inversions and then intertwine them. F6, G diminished, F6, G diminished, F6, G diminished, etc. I would practice ups first. Some people get into the downs immediately and it's harder. It's better, in my opinion, to do several ups. When that gets easy, then take your downs as well, right? But I wouldn't do that initially. I wouldn't recommend that. Okay, so let's see where we get major notes from that F6 and where we get diminished notes. So this G in that F major 6 diminished scale, is that a major note or is it a diminished note? Diminished, exactly, Art. I see some people write diminished. Okay, brilliant. When we get to the next D minor 7, there we get a major note, we get a diminished note. I'll just put a little circle for diminished and then another major. Like that. We get a G again. So that's a diminished note on D minor. Let's see what we can do. So we've got, because that's a diminished note, I have a little rule for myself. I'll take my F6. let's say the top note's been moved to a diminished note, I'll move the next one up as well. So the next diminished note from D is E, like that. And all that can go over a D minor 7. Now, yes, some people will call that D minor 11. Fine, but we have movements which static chords won't give you, right? Fine. More advanced people, I'll just sneak in a quick thing on B minor 7 flat 5. If we invert B minor 7 flat 5 up, which chord do we get? D minor 6. So that means we've got to know D minor 6 with E diminished. We just put the diminished on the second degree. D minor 6, E diminished. D minor 6, E diminished, etc. Now that straight line, that's a D minor note, then a diminished note, then a D minor note. So that's how I play the B minor 7 flat 5. I could take some sort of contrary motion in the left hand. Maybe that. Or that would be a good one, because it takes me to the E for the E7. See that D minor 7 with MOM on it, major diminished, because diminished chord symbol is just a 0. That one, same, F6, G diminished to F6, right? So then we're looking for some sort of contrary motion. That could be nice because it takes me to the G. So I'm looking for any major note in the left hand because these are F major notes. When I say major notes and diminished notes, I just mean these are the F major 6 notes, these are G diminished notes. So the melody is a major note to a diminished note to a major note. So major note here, you get okay at predicting the contrary motion after a while so that you can join chords up together. That can be A minor 7. I think Evans plays one of those A7s, which for me is a voicing 3, jazz skills people. To other people it'll be an altered. Now this is an interesting one. The difference for me between this D minor 7 and this D minor 7 is something. Can anyone tell me why those two are different? Yes, the G is up an octave, but can you see anything else in there? Because it's followed by a chord tone. This one just jumps from G to G, right? And it's now on a different chord. So really our movement time is kind of over by then. Although this one goes from an unsettled note, a diminished note, to a major note in F, right? F6 moves G minor 7. So that gives us time to play a resolution there. And we could do that in several ways. So let's see some of those ways. Okay, so focusing on this area, let's just zoom in on it. So if this is F6 and this is a diminished note going to a major note, fine, that's the simple thing we could do. But what I like to do is say, okay, if the top note is moved to a diminished, maybe I'll move the next one like this. Move them both back. That's one way to do it, okay? Another way to do it, well, we had two ways, right? So one was just to move the top note. Then next is to move the top two notes. You can probably guess what the third way would be. Third way would be to move the top three notes. Like that. Looks like an A7 to D minor, which is the ultimate tension and release for D minor, right? But the way I would play that last one, I'd move to that C sharp or D flat in the left hand as well. Maybe in contrary motion, seeing as everything is moving down in the right hand. Move that note up in the left, okay? Several ways now we have to play it. One more advanced one for level 3 people would be take that top 3 move, where the top 3 notes move, but drop 2. So drop 2 is when, just a very quick introduction, we count from the top for this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, highest note, 2, 3, 4. and we take the 2, which is D, and we put that down here. So if that D moves like this to E and then back to D, then this voice goes down here like that, okay? You could even do that with the D at the bottom if you want. And that's it, okay? So that is pretty much A section dealt with. Let's see if there's anything else for minor sevenths particularly. Yes, actually in the B section. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's a voicing 2 on the G7 because the A is in the melody. That's what we were doing earlier. Remember that? E minor 7, A minor. Oh, here's another straight line one. Perfect. Ah, they go to F on that one. So, this time let's do a slightly different thing on that D minor 7. Let's just take the top 2 notes. So if that C and D are going to move up the scale, they will go like this. Because these major notes go up to diminished notes, these 2 will go up here, like this, right? Because G diminished has these notes. We can even move further apart like this. So it's like going F major notes, G diminished notes, F major notes, but we've got an extra one that's now fillable here, right? So we can go like something like this. Something like that, right? See if there's anything else. Where are we? Yeah, here's a beautiful one. This whole area is perfect. See what's going on in that box? It's really all D minor. But when you go down the scale, we've got a perfect F major 6 diminished movement because of that. And we've got our straight line again. So we've got the sort of linear movement like that. But when we have, imagine that all that was written is D minor 7, we would play F major 6 stuff, right? Yeah, that goes to A flat 7 on this one anyway. But A7 is E diminished or G diminished. Let me explain that better. So, in F major 6, when we go F6 G diminished, F6 G diminished, which we've been doing throughout this conversation, look what happens if I do this in the left hand. What does the function become? I'll answer this one. The function becomes F major 6, C7. This is a voicing 1 for me where the C's moved up a half step. 5, 7, extra note or flat 9, and the 3, right? So you start to hear that 5-1 stuff. So what somebody's written here is a D minor, 1, A7, 5, 1, 5, and it's the same as this. When we played F major 6 to G diminished, like this, F major 6, G diminished, and we had these bottom notes. Now we're going to keep the same right hand, but in the left hand, watch what happens. The F major 6 is also D minor. The G diminished could be C7, but is also A7. Look, because this is an A7 inverted. 1, 3, 5, 7. And there's our voicing 1 where we move the root up a half step. It's a diminished chord again, right? So now F6, G diminished, F6, G diminished. But the function becomes D minor 7 to A7. So what I feel is that somebody on that tune has just written in the movement, maybe realizing, maybe not realizing. I don't know if it's part of the original chord chart or not. My guess is maybe not, but I could be wrong. It could be. Either way, that's an F major 6 diminished movement on D minor 7th. Hope you enjoyed that. Consider joining us on Jazz Skills, where we have a developing fluency course to teach you the language and get you fluent playing it. So it's not just academic information and much more after that, including improvisation, voicings, movements, rhythm, accompanying, support from me and a vibrant community. You name it, we've got it. Take care. Bye for now.